Yay.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Public Allies. I'm your host for today's webinar. My name is Ayesha Sardar, and I'm so happy to be back. Black History Month is a time to celebrate and remember all ways that Black Canadians have contributed to Canada's history and culture. Throughout February, this celebration provides a chance to learn about African cultures. So we have with us today a very special guest, and her name is Sandra McKechnie. Let me give you a little introduction about her. Here you go. Sandra McKechnie began entertaining audiences over 30 years ago as a dynamic, soul-inspiring songstress, lyricist, and producer. She was led to incorporate Double Consciousness, 2Bs, into her creative portfolio, further elevating the spirit of listeners through her public speaking. The reviews for these presentations are no less than inspiring. Double Consciousness is the culmination of Sandra's personal research and exploration, triggered by an urgency to delve deep beneath the surface of Black history as it was told. She shares her findings in a stimulating, upbeat fashion with numerous details impacting the fate of two different, distinct groups of people. The information remains very relevant and inclusive, encompassing all race groups. Sandra is also a certified life coach, holding space for all people wanting to unpack areas of consciousness, unawareness, implicit bias, and for women over 30 wanting to live their best life. Welcome, Sandra.
It's so cute.
I know. Welcome, Sandra. And it is so nice to have you here today.
My pleasure, Ayesha. Very nice. Very good to be here with you.
So if I have missed anything in your introduction, please go ahead and add that.
Oh, no, you didn't miss much. I know when I looked on Public Allies, I saw Singer-Songwriter, guest speaker, and I am that for sure. But I also focus on three specific areas. That is, I do these cultural sensitivity and awareness trainings through an anti-bias and anti-oppression lens. And I also, in that same niche, I have my video podcast, which is great, which you're going to be on. And so that's going to be good. But I have my video podcast, which also kind of just niches down into the same, with the same lens, anti-bias, anti-oppression. And I'm a certified life coach in the same niche. Yeah.
Amazing. So Sandra, before we get into details about you, do you know how Black History Month started? A little background about it.
Black History Month was originally it's really just the Canadians and Americans really have everything to do with it, right? I mean, it wasn't something that the rest of the world really wanted, but it is specifically Canada and the United States. That's a big deal for us. And it's not just a month, of course, right?
Yeah.
That's like our anniversary month. It's 365 days a year, right? So that's the main thing about Black History Month. Yeah. And people fought for it. It was a big deal in the States as well. Yeah. Marginalization was used, and this was just our way to remember. It's not just about the month. It's us remembering great people that went before us, like Malcolm Little, aka Malcolm X, James Baldwin, all these amazing people. Of course, Dr. Martin Luther King, many people that we've lost. And so it's just remembering, too, the shoulders that we are standing on. That's the biggest thing for us.
But, you know, when I started preparing for this webinar, and I have a lot of friends, right, from the Black community. So I wanted to dig a little deeper. So I went in there and I was looking for what exactly started this month. So I came across a story that dates back to, I think, 1926. Sorry if I'm wrong about the numbers, but it was in the United States. And at that time, there was an African-American historian named Carter Woodson. And
do you have the exact date that it started?
Sorry?
Do you have the exact date that Black History Month started?
I think it was 1926. Like,
I don't know exactly.
Yeah, and then he focused on celebrating accomplishments of African Americans. Then he decided on a week, particularly in February, because it was important. Two important men were born in that month. One was Frederick Douglass, And because he fought for the freedom of enslaved people and the equal rights for women. And the second one was Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president of the United States. He also fought for the freedom of enslaved people throughout the country. So while Utsin's idea was like, a 1 week celebration, eventually it stretched out to a 1 month long Heritage Month in the United States during the 70s, I think. And Canada, I remember, in 1995 recognized February as the Black History Month. And I hear that every year there is a different theme that they give for the Black History Month. And this year it is February Forever, February and Forever, celebrating Black history today and every day.
It is, we've had a different twist, I think, this year, because people are really adamant that it is definitely the whole year, and this is like a celebratory month.
I know, isn't it so amazing?
Yeah,
like you get to know so many things about so many people. But today, I want to know about you. So tell me, yes, how was your childhood? Where were you born, and how did the journey start from there to here?
Okay, so I was born in St. Michael, Barbados, and so two beautiful people, Simone and Glenn Springer. That's my name, my dad's name, my maiden name. And my mom came first. She came to Canada first, and then my father came after. My brother, sister, and I came in 1972 to Toronto, and that, those 3 years, we were actually, I think it was only 3 years we were apart from our parents, but I found it really traumatic, like really hard.
Yeah.
And I can still remember, I was young. I came here when I was 8, but I can still remember. And we were living with our grandparents. A lot of people went through this, where they were here living with their parents, whether it's Jamaica or somewhere in the Caribbean. People stayed with their family member while mom or dad went on to, whether it's Montreal or Canada. A lot of places in the world, England. So the opportunity, my mom took it, and she left, and then my dad came, and then we went. And growing up was interesting. I didn't feel like I had, as a child, a long time with my mom and dad before my mom left, because she was everything. Right? She's the mummy. So that was hard. It was hard actually staying with my grandmother, because there was 8 of us. And I think that was challenging. And that's the first time, as I look back, hindsight, it's really the first time I really understood a little bit about class distinction. I didn't know it. I didn't have the words then. But, I had another cousin, and she was lighter than I was. She was mulatto. She still is. And looking back, her skin color was very important to my grandmother.
Oh, wow.
I had a lovely grandmother that looked after us all, but a very dark lady, beautiful person. I tried her best with all of these kids that she was looking after, whilst people tried to make a future abroad for these children, my cousins and so on. But I remember when we actually came here and we could voice it. We don't know what's happening then, but when you look back and you say, hey, look, I talked to my sister, my brother, and I said, was that for real? Well, I hear a fire truck or something, fire truck as well. Anyway, they said, is that for real? Did that really happen? Was there really like class distinction in our home,
Yeah.
Well, there was. I later found out that was the case in a lot of homes, in certain, right? And it continues today, because that's how we were assimilated. If somebody said something one time to me, and I always repeat it, we were taught, or we were classified in the bottom of the rung by some pseudoscientists, right? Carl von Linnaeus, Johann Blumenbach, and these people. And though it's discredited, it's like a sort of a poison that's still in the cookie that goes through generations.
Absolutely.
But we remember that. We remembered how important it was that my lighter cousin, no, don't go in the sun, grandmother would say, oh, you pretty skin, we call it. You have pretty skin, your skin pretty. And that meant, no, don't darken it. And it's telling, it really is telling when we think of it. We think, oh no, I did one of my presentations to a group of people one time, And a white woman who meant well, she said to me, "Why all the self-hatred about your skin?" And so I had to go in.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit of history, and it's awful to just look at it at the surface, but this is a multi-generational deal. We call it, and there's people coloring their skin. I mean, you're aware of this too. I mean, it's huge in India. It's huge in Africa.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's just something that people sort of lived with. Now things are coming to light and people are receiving healing and closing that disconnect. We're going through this time warp, 21st century, 2019, 1817, way back, thousands of years if you look at the trans-Saharan trade. And just closing that disconnect, recognizing, oh my goodness, I'm tapping into my conscious awareness. I'm becoming aware.
No, but what hurts most is, Sandra, that, it's coming from home, like, our close ones, our family, and the bias starts there.
And that bias started a few hundred years before them. So as the time warp began, they brought it home and then they gave it to us. And so a lot of the work, right, we're doing now is to stop the insanity.
I know.
Yes, and promote.
So it must have been difficult for you.
Yeah, I mean, how old was I? 6, 7. But I remember it. It just felt like it was huge. It felt like we went through there. My grandmother, of course, this is how she was assimilated, and people think slavery is so far away. No, I mean, my girlfriend was just telling me that her grandfather, he was born on a plantation, an active plantation. So I think that it is difficult growing up, especially when you don't have your mommy for a while or your dad's out all the time working or whatever. You just don't have that security and that comfort.
Yeah.
And you come here and then you are grade 8, and they put me in grade 3. And clearly I understood there was a positioning culturally, ethnically, that I was not one of them. I was not. And I had to do whatever it took for me. And I remember that as well, Ayesha. You just feel like you've got to do whatever you can do, whatever it takes for people to like you.
Yeah.
Right? Assimilate.
But, you were resilient, I would say. That, you wanted to do something. But some of them just retire and say, okay, this is how it is. And we are going to accept it the way, right? But people, because they fought, that's why we are here today. Like,
oh my goodness.
And talking to each other.
Right. And I find it so honorable. Like right now, I didn't realize, because my girlfriend used to tell me, "You're so white. You show up white. You're white. Yeah, white." And I used to be so offended by that. I'm thinking, well, yeah, my father's mixed race and my grandfather's Scottish. I can't disown myself. This is a part of who I am. And not only that, this is hundreds of years of assimilation, right? We were taught to forget who we were and just assimilate into the dominant group. And that's where the disconnect is. And that's where the trauma is. It's back here, but because we're not connecting with it, we continue on passing it on to our children. So they don't have a sense of self. And I do the double consciousness, 2 streams of thought, 2 social identities. And that was a concept coined and honed by W.E.B. Du Bois. So it's really important that we share this, because it's changing people's hearts and lives, Ayesha. It's an amazing opportunity.
Absolutely. But, if you had to pin a few challenges that you had on your way, like, what did you have to face? Because see, like you said, I'm coming from India. Being a woman in India earlier used to be a totally different ballgame, right? You're coming from the Black community. You're a woman. And so what were the challenges, some of the challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome those?
The biggest overcoming, it's transformational. It's not the transforming, it's the transformational process. So it's one of the biggest things when I just kind of woke up, the alarm went off, ding, 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 ding. And I woke up and recognized, oh my gosh, I was married to a white man. I mean, technically I still am, but we're not together. But I woke up and I recognized that, oh my gosh, I have been duped, and the whole world has been.
I want to know now.
Well, because you're assimilated a certain way, there's a guilt. Your friends, we call it code switching. Suppose like you end up you're identifying as white in the week. People will say you're at work and you act white. Yeah. And then on the weekend you go with your family and your ethnicity, your heritage kicks in and you act Black or you act Indian or you act you're First Nations or American Indian or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So people, that used to be looked down upon. But I think that this is one challenge that's huge, is if we remember that we didn't just show up in the Caribbean. We were brought there by a seasoning, rape, sodomy. It was huge. We were taken from someplace.
Yeah.
And we were abused and dehumanized until we forgot who we were. We literally did. Because if we knew who we were, and a lot of people are waking up to it, and I love it. I love YouTube. I love learning. I see my people. I never used to think I had a people. I just thought I was here to present white, and I'll just go along to get along, have black friends, and I'll do what I want to do. Married a white guy. Not that people marry who they love, but I'm saying if you don't know who you are, right, you're going to always press the default button. And I think that's the biggest challenge, understanding that, people say they don't see black and all this nonsense. And I know even white people will agree this is nonsense, because I want you to see me. I want to see that you're from India. I want to hear about India. And then we can all get along and sing Kumbaya.
Absolutely.
When we know who we are. Because you want me to be a strong human being, a strong woman. And all of this challenge, one of the other challenges is that before 1681, some people say 1690, as white people, right? People apparently could marry who they want, but I always say there was someone in the kitchen with a cauldron stirring up some trouble. But so 1681, there was no such term. Mm-hmm. And so we have this thing about color that came upon us. Mm-hmm. People weren't referred to as white. They were British and other freeborns, British and Christians, Portuguese, Dutch. They were not called white people. But that term came great, dominant. So everybody fell for it. And after a time, everybody came under that. The Irish, who went through hell, came under that as well. Italians came under that. People came under this, and they didn't ask for it. Yeah. But that's exactly what happened, and that's a huge challenge. And another huge challenge is that, and I'm feeling and I'm experiencing myself overcoming. Mm-hmm. It's a process, and it's great. Is being around people and being with this implicit type bias that's in Canada. You get the overt one across the border, but we probably don't like any of it. But this implicit bias, where how many times someone has been around me in very close proximity when I was in a store. Here I am thinking I was assimilated to whiteness because that's how we were taught. Yeah. White is right, black, get back, brown, stick around. So that would be you, Ayesha.
Oh my
brown,
God.
Stick around. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
So we're taught these things, and the poison is in the cookies. Comes through hundreds of years. Yeah. So being cased in a store, like, someone is actually behind you on your tail, and I used to just deny it and think that's not it. I don't want to use the R card, the race card. I don't want to look for a race card under every bush, but clearly that's happened to me a number of times in my life. And I was just like, dissonance, forget about it. That's not true. That's not a thing. Until, the big thing, I think, when we wake up a little bit, woke, and we get together, and we talk about this anyway, but when you really start to wake up and become conscious is hard work, okay? Yeah. You wake up, it's not just putting on a dashiki and going to an Afrofest or getting some products, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but it is consciously recognizing the voice of whiteness, okay? And white is just a term. These are bywords. Black, those are bywords. We are people, and we should have been brothers and sisters respecting our nations and our purpose. Yeah. But the hard part for us is to recognize, because I sing quite a bit, and I went to present, and I used to sing a lot more. I don't do it as much now. I still do it. Yes, I'm actually preparing for a bunch of singing this Sabbath. But
can we hear one of those?
I didn't warm up. But the beautiful thing about this is, I might. What was I saying? You got turned off with this thing, and everybody else is going to say. But I would love to probably. What was I saying? I was saying something.
Let me ask you.
So,
yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I was singing at this women's group. I used to sing a lot of women's groups. Mm-hmm. And I was singing at this particular women's group, okay? And I remembered I was I was singing with I always used to sing this beautiful Greek friend of mine, and she showed up and she was singing that month, and I was supposed to sing the next month. Mm-hmm. And so I went up to the lady and I said, hey, I'm singing. I'm here to support my friend. I'm singing next month. I have hair like this, and I'm looking. This was booked on the phone for me. Okay, mm-hmm. So I came up and I said, I'm singing next month, and she looked at me and she went, I don't think so. And I said, no, look, I'm singing next month. And she said, I don't think so. And I said, check. And my friend looked at me. I looked at my friend. And she said, we'll have to get back to you, kind of thing, And I went to my seat. I was trying not to take out that R card. Starts with an R and ends in an E.
Yeah.
And I sat at my table, and my friend came along, and she sat in front of me. And this room was filled with what you might call fur coats. That meaning, that's a term to mean a lot of rich white women. But and my friend was one of them, and she came and she plopped herself down in front of me, and she said, oh my God, I think she's prejudiced. And it actually gave me an opportunity to exhale, mm-hmm. to really exhale as a woman, a young woman. And I was glad that she said it, and because we're not supposed to use the card, because you got to have a little shame attached to it. If you take it out, you're not supposed to use it. And some people use it wrong. There's supposed to be rules, unspoken rules. But I remember thinking, I was so glad that my friend, that is white, classified white still, even though she will not agree with it, but that's what happened. She actually said, I think they're racist. I think she's prejudiced. Mm-hmm. So that really hurt. And those stories, I have so many stories. Our people have a lot of stories we get together and talk about that we were taught to suppress, dissonance. It's a discomfort in the mind.
But why suppress?
Because it is difficult to actually, two streams of thought and two social identities is so hard. That means you are, you've got your culture, mm-hmm. ethnicity, whatever, and you're in a nation of people that are also descendants that also came through the time warp. Perhaps they didn't directly have slaves, but benefited from what that meant. You have Slave Massa. Slave Massa took his spreadsheet to the bank and turned it into bonds that went all over the world. Mm-hmm. And people, where even slavery was illegal, people benefited. So the system and the structure of white supremacy is in place. So you have two streams of thought and two social identities. You have been assimilated upon trauma to have these two. Mm-hmm. And so right now, what people are trying to do is close this gap to have a sense of self. And it's fine. And that's what we're doing. And that's the work we're doing.
And, was as a psychologist, I believe that, a person should be able to express themselves. Whatever culture you come from, whatever background you come from, just being you is the most important thing.
Yes.
Whether you agree with something, whether you're backed by some, like you were saying, when you go to the grocery stores, or when you're being shadowed by someone, right? So I have heard so many stories where, the police, as soon as they look at a black young man, or driving fast, or if they stop them, there is a different way of approach than it is for somebody else. So that has to go. And how do we fight that? How do we, overcome that?
I love that question, because the denial is the part. When I meet people, brown and black people, that will say, no, everybody's coming out. It's great. I love it.
Yes.
Well, not everybody, but they say, oh no, just let's move on. Meritocracy, bootstrap, pull up yourself by your bootstraps. Well, the reality is we have gone through a lot of multi-generational, intergenerational trauma. And where you can be free and start feeling freedom is when you close that disconnect and go back into the time warp, get the answer for the reason, for the hope that's ahead. But we need the answers. There's no other group that denies this type of, that we do need healing, right?
Yeah.
When people went through the Holocaust, there's clinicians, droves of people in care. That was not, I always say to people, do you remember the droves of clinicians that were loosed in the Americas to look after us? No, because it never happened. So we used to have community, and this is why I want to foster, I'm one of the instruments out here, there's a lot of instruments out here that are being used to do this, to foster where we were pulled apart, scattered to the four corners of the earth, to bring us together now, because that's where we got our healing. A friend of mine from Eritrea, she said, we would never need any therapist. She's a psychotherapist. We'd never need any therapists if we had our community intact the way it was. And we can have that. We can really have that. So yeah, I think it's just a matter of us recognizing, oh, it's okay, it's not your fault, white, black, or indifferent. It's not your fault. That's some of the things we tout in our learning. It's not your fault, but you can do something about it. You can absolutely do something about it.
Absolutely. You know, that is one of the things I keep talking about when I meet other people, and when, you know, we're discussing Black history, or, you know, when we're discussing South Asian people in the community, or especially Muslims, because I come from a Muslim background, right? So when we are talking about it, the one thing I ask for is equity and equality and inclusiveness. And wholeheartedly that has to be done, because, you know, you're not understanding just by saying sorry, things cannot be sorted.
And that's something you wanted to unpack on our show. We're going to do that.
Absolutely.
Right?
And
yes,
you know, you have to show. And so I have some very, very good friends who have done nothing wrong, but my only problem is they don't stand against it too. Like, you know, they're content by saying that I'm not doing anything wrong, which is amazing. They're actually contributing by, you know, by being good in the community and by reducing that bias in the community. But then when you see something that happens, maybe like, you know, questioning it, coming in between and asking questions, that would make such a huge difference.
And when people come to the reality and sort of in these trainings, these learnings that we're doing, people are like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know. We had a gentleman on one of a white man on one of our trainings, and it was a moment of a powerful dawning. He has a little boy, and he recognized, even though his hands are, he's a social worker, we just got the content is what causes people to just really, whoa, you know, I can't believe this. We weren't taught this. We were all duped. We weren't taught this in school. And this gentleman all of a sudden went, oh my gosh, we started talking to do logically about passing things on. Someone says Ayesha, you act like your auntie. You act like your great so-and-so. That's, you know, or your behaviors like this. We are passing things on. It's logical. And this gentleman had this awakening that, oh my gosh, I see this in my young little white son. I see this in my son. I see this bias in my son against other groups. And he froze and was sort of like, I guess I must have passed that on.
Absolutely. How does it,
good for you.
As a kid, when your grandma was talking about, you know, colors and, you know, the fair skin, or, you know, not getting tan, it kind of passed on to you, saying that, you know, you need to have that fair skin to be pretty.
Yes.
Right? And we don't realize in our household what we talk, our kids are listening. Or, you know, the next generation is listening to. And that's how their bias is created. You're conditioning their minds without even knowing it, right? You
are so right. And it's unintentional. But it's when that man, when he kind of just stopped and said, I guess I'm passing it to him. And we all kind of felt very emotional at the time, because it was a wonderful moment, you know.
But, you know, you said something while you were talking, that, you know, there's an awakening that happens, right? So this awakening happens because you get more experience, you're matured, you're aging, or what is it?
No, it's happening to a lot of young folks. It's happening to a lot of young people. You know why it comes sometimes to the most important part? Because you've lived a lot of your life. When you get that light bulb moment, oh my goodness, I'm woke. I get it. Like, I really get it. You actually think about it's all of the stuff that you have been through that leads you there. Like, where you've been acting a certain way your whole life. You know, you don't recognize the beauty of where you came from and who you are. Beyond Africa you came from, who you are. Your faith was everything to you. Powerful people we are. And we don't get it. That's huge, right? And then you look at all the things, the way we talked about it, the way we were even talking, Indians and us, we have this thing that goes between us, right? We call people words and names, and we don't know who they are. And you look at that, all of this was rolling around in my mind as I came to this awakening, like, oh my gosh, we've all been duped. Meanwhile, we could have been great friends a long time ago, Ayesha.
I know, you know, COVID, if it taught us something, that is like, we have a short life. Enjoy it, live it to the fullest. You don't know when you'll be locked at home, right? Or you
It's
leave
true.
right?
Do I have time for one more story?
Yeah, go ahead.
This one was really because I'm working on this book still for so long. It's just an ebook I'm trying to put together called "Is There Something on My Face?"
Mm-hmm.
And years ago, I knew this lady. I knew her son. She had another baby, and the baby was rolled into the room where I was, and I never saw the child before. But the child looked at me, and it just started to cry, like viscerally. The first thing I did, I looked at the lady that I knew and I went, "Is there something on my face?" And she said, oh, this child was probably no more than 3 years old. She said, "Well, he's not, conditioned to being around Black people."
Oh my God. How does
Ayesha,
the kid even know that?
How? So it's like, was that coming from the baby or the mother? So it really hit me. I knew this person for years. It really hit me. The child's not conditioned at that age to be. And I really thought, is there something on my face? So that's where the book came from. And there's a whole bunch of stories from my friends and everything. And it's so wonderful. I'm pushing people to get here so that without apology, we can all say, everybody, white,
yes,
Muslims, Latinx, our indigenous brothers and sisters. It's
absolutely
not our fault, but we can do something about this. We can.
It's nobody's fault, right?
Absolutely. Well,
it's nobody's fault. Let's just live a happy life, isn't it? Okay.
Oh, well, that's for another show.
I want to know everything that you're doing these days, because you have a wonderful podcast, which I'm going to be a guest on. Thank you so much. Yeah. And what are the other things that you're doing these days?
Well, the one thing that I'm doing, we don't do it as much. We used to plan a bunch of these trainings. I'm looking to get contracted out, which is what I'm doing now. I'm busy. I have an 8-hour training tomorrow. And Double Consciousness Fundamentals we did 2 weeks ago. Double Consciousness Advanced we are doing tomorrow. 8 hours online is long, but there's places that feel they're workplaces need this. Corporate world needs this, right? And you might be tired. People are getting complaints, formal complaints. Things are going to arbitration.
Not only corporates. We need it in our personal life as well.
Okay, so families, social workers, teachers, parents, please, I would love for you to stop by and get in touch with me. And that is one thing I do. And then, of course, that's also, definitely, that's an anti-bias, anti-oppression lens, and that's called Double Consciousness. And then promoting hope and healing. So it's really about causing people to tap into their conscious unawareness. That's a start, right? Mm-hmm. So you becoming aware that you're unaware. That's a wonderful place to be. I don't know stuff. I got to check it out. I don't know. All right. And that's good. So, because that's what happened to me. I kept hearing things, get a buzz, you're thinking, maybe I should look into that. And then things happen and change happens. Yeah. So it's causing people to tap into their conscious unawareness, right? Mm-hmm. And deconstructing and looking at stuff, not destroying, deconstructing mindsets and reconstructing mindsets, and honoring every group that comes through, and looking predominantly at those that went through trans-Saharan trade, descendants of transatlantic slave trade, apartheid, colonization, all that happened, so people can get the background. There's no reason in just saying, move on, let's go. We need to connect with what happened so we can do some correcting and we can get awareness. It's marvelous, that awareness. It's amazing. And then the next way we promote hope and healing is through the video podcast, Voices of Humanity at PR Connections Radio. And that's where we're going to delve in. We're delving into a plethora of intersections. I just had a lady, grew up in South Africa, apartheid. I had that's Fenella Trevelyan. And then we had Sandy Boucher. She's a specialist in terms of First Nations conciliation, healing. And she's amazing. And I'm going to take some training with her because I need it myself. And there's a lot of ways, even meeting you, Nehru. I love it because I said to Nehru, well, India really was conditioned to think, well, you know what, we're better than them. We're better than the nappy-headed people. We're over here. we're on the bottom. We're in the basement. They're in the sewer. No.
I don't know if you know. I lived in South Africa for 4.5 years, and I had such amazing experience We will talk about it.
Yeah, that doesn't go across the board, but it's wonderful that you had one. But a lot of Indians from India went to
Durban.
Yes, yes. Ah, okay. Wow. Well, I can't wait to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'll be great.
So, but then this was amazing, Sandra. Thank you so much for coming. I hope everybody knows that there are many events that take place across Canada during Black History Month,
definitely,
including concerts, performances, activities for kids and adults. It's a way of creating awareness, educating them about their history, about their heritage, which is beautiful, if I may say. So thank you so much again for being our guest.
Oh, Ayesha, sorry. I also wanted to say that I'm a certified life coach, and I also coach in that area, and it's very hard work, but it's great for people to come to that awareness. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Anyways, your details and your the description and your contact info is in the description. So if anybody wants to reach out, please do. That'll be amazing. And thanks again for coming on our show at Public Allies. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I hope to see you soon. Okay?
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye.